Hey guys, it's D-Free again. Welcome back to another video. Thank you guys for tuning into this one today. What we're going to be talking about is basically the title of the video. You guys saw it already. Which super strikes should you prioritize getting to SA level 15? Now, we're going to go over how you do that. We're going to take an overview of every available super strike in the game. And then, from there, we're going to break that down. So if you guys enjoy it, subscribe if you're new, of course, for more awesome content. And let me go ahead and answer my own question because I know I already get the comments, all of them, right? All of them. Realistically, if you can, eventually, might as well just get all of them, especially now in this period. It is kind of tedious to grind a bunch of them a day, like 3 or 4 a day. But, you know, over the course of like a month, you have time to get them all to 15. You might as well. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can Dokkan Awaken 2 versions of them and then combine them together. Or you can use the Dokkan Awaken version and then the pre-Dokkan Awaken version. If you awaken the pre-Dokkan Awaken version to SSR with the SA level 5. The other one is SA 10. You can combine them. Hopefully, it'll give you a 50% chance you can get it to work in that scenario as well. So I've had that work maybe 3 out of 4 times so far that I've done it because I've been grinding all these with you guys. And it did suck that one time it didn't work. My Jackie Chun didn't work, and I was too lazy to go back and grind them up again. So that's how you can get that done. So we're going to break it down. I've already went ahead and opened them all up. Let's look at the AGL units first. I'm going to go ahead and say that... close out of that. Oh yeah, so I was gonna go ahead and say that I believe Kid Vegeta is gonna be awakening soon. I'm pretty sure he's in the files now for global, so that should be coming very soon. Here we have Tien, martial arts honor. Tien doesn't really offer anything really offensively, and keep in mind a couple of things are going to happen. Some of these guys will get a 20% attack increase. Some of them will SA at key 9, I believe, or key 8, something like that, SA early. So he gets a 20% attack increase, has a low key multiplier. Of course, they are all farmable, and he only has a chance of stunning. Medium chance means about 20 to 25% chance. Extreme damage. He's not an offensive unit. So if you're wanting to prioritize a different unit other than Tien, you're perfectly warranted in that. Because like I said, eventually probably get all of them there. But if you're trying to figure out which ones are the best ones to do and then kind of work your way down, Tien is not one of them. Also, the AGL ones aren't really going to be useful until you're farming LR Frieza. This campaign doesn't, unfortunately, incorporate LR Frieza. Maybe it does, and we don't know. I don't know. So Tien's definitely not one that you want to go ahead and do. Pikkon either, because Pikkon is a huge damage unit. He does lower the enemy's attack, which is great. He gets a, I believe, 20% attack increase as well. Yep, so at max SA, he gets that. So he's not able to do anything really for you there. And secondly, really low attack stat. He's just going to hit like a flower, but he does offer his allies attack improvement. Unfortunately, he has a HP restriction on that. Piccolo doesn't have that. So Pikkon is honestly pretty solid. You know, he's pretty solid filler. But he's not a hitter, so there's no point really. Like I said, eventually, but if you're prioritizing once again, there's no point. So here we get into the actual 2 hitters, Kid Vegeta and then his older self. So extreme damage, of course, I think they're all going to have at least extreme, closer to extreme, because of course Mercenary Tao doesn't have that either. And we just looked at Pikkon. 50% up when performing a super attack, has some very solid links as well. Saiyan Royal Race, Prodigy, Saiyan Lineage, Royal Lineage, which is actually the Vegeta family, Super Strike and Bombardment. His best friend, I believe, is actually his older self, which kind of makes sense, right? 50% up, and then on top of that, he gets a 20% attack increase. He's one of the ones that you would definitely want to prioritize. He's definitely worth it. He's actually their leader, too. He gives them HP and attack, no defense, but he gives them 30%, so he's definitely there to allow you to build a team that does hit a little bit harder. And then I believe the very first one, this guy is actually the very first one. He still has really good art. That art's really good, actually. So we have this Vegeta. He gets 40% more attack when his key is at 6 or above. So he does not have the stipulation of needing a super attack, so that's really good for him. Once again, same link package as the other one. You just keep them on rotation, you're straight. And 20% up again. This guy, I've seen him hit for like 400k under Extreme AGL, so that's pretty cool. I haven't tested out the other one. Now, let me say this really quick. The reason why I don't do gameplay for these is because I can't. I can't do gameplay for every individual one of these units that I break down in this manner because I don't have them all. I just simply don't have every available unit in the game. So if you don't like it, that I don't do it, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about it right now. But if you guys are here for the information, then that's cool because that's what these are for, right? They're not a gameplay video. So now that we went ahead and broke down AGL, I have the whole tech portion pulled up here. Now, we have the tech leader you'd be wanting to run if you were running a mono team, basically. We have huge damage on this guy. 5 and 5% per key orb obtained. And when he's at max SA, he actually is one, I think he's the first one that we looked at, that SA launches at 9 key bars. So that only happens when he's SA 15. So since that is a requirement on him, I would say yes, even though he's not going to hit hard. The more orbs you get him, of course, the harder he'll hit. You know, the more orbs you get him, the better he'll defend. But once again, just because he needs that in order to be able to super early, which is definitely a big convenience, I'd go for it on him for sure, actually. And then we have Master Roshi, Jackie Chun. I actually completely overlooked this guy. I forgot that he had this passive in my team building tech video. So that's a cool thing. He seals. He has this nice passive. He gets a 20% up improvement here. He's not a hitter, though. There's no point. You don't have to. You can have him at SA1 if you wanted to, and he's doing his job perfectly fine on the tech team, supplying that buff to those guys, which is actually a very big buff. And then on top of that, and he's still sealing. So you don't really need to, but he is going to hit relatively harder, especially harder than a unit like Pycon, because he's given himself a bigger increase too. And it's unconditional too, so that's cool. All right, so the next one is Mighty Mask. Mighty Mask would be cool, but he's probably the least useful Super Strike, at least as of right now, because his passive, when facing 2 or more enemies, that is like literally the worst passive requirement in the game. Like seriously. There's no real reason as to why he has that. I understand. Actually, there is, because of course you're fighting. It's 2 versus 2 basically, so I understand it. It's just not good in terms of the game. So 50% having Super Saiyan is pretty cool. He has a greatly lowering defense mechanic. So in certain scenarios, you could take him on just a regular tech team and he'd work fine there. But in the context of these events, he's worthless. There's no point in really farming him up. He's going to hit harder. And then on top of that, he has a 120 key multiplier. Wow, that's really bad. Yeah, I wouldn't bother with him, to be honest. I wouldn't even bother running him on the team. In fact, I built a team video, which I'll link at the end of this video, for the best teams to run against LR Goku. I don't know if we're getting to stage 4 yet. It's in the files. We could. Just check that video out. I talk about it. Either way, it doesn't really matter. We have Piccolo. Attack and defense plus 15% for all allies. So we've seen this support passive get better, right? This one's actually, I believe, the best one, because Piccolo is actually the newest one out of all the units that we've shown thus far, I believe. Piccolo is one of the last super strikes that they actually put out before they kind of stopped doing it. It's weird because there's still a couple units they haven't super striked. So we saw Master Roshi with it being specific to tech types. This guy says, okay, attack and defense up 15% for everybody, and also no Pycon restriction of 50%. Huge damage and lowers defense. He has a nice package of links. Does function really well in like I want to say like a hero team. You know what I'm saying? Not really, more or less a rainbow team, because hero team isn't really a thing, because he does have Golden Z Fighter, which does function with some of the other Super Strike characters, and of course the support passive there. But the real question is, should you do it? And since he SAs early, has a nice key multiplier, gets a solid buff attack and defense wise to himself, also lowers defense, unfortunately has huge damage, but he's worth it. He's worth it. He is definitely worth it, especially depending on certain teams that you're running. So Piccolo gets the S. Trunks gets the S too, because he has probably the best passive among all these guys individually. His passive is he gives himself 3 key and 5,000 attack when facing only one enemy. You see the difference between this and Goten and Trunks a second ago is that he's at one enemy. This is going to happen majority of the time. Like literally 95% of the time, this is the game, period. The only time this isn't is like on like the first round of like a boss event, maybe the second round. For example, the Gogeta event. This wouldn't work against Gogeta SS4's event, because the second round, he wouldn't have a passive. But every other time, he'd have a passive. So since that's the case, he gets a really big attack improvement. When it comes to Super Strike, since their percentage-based improvement is so low, which that's actually a solid leader skill, to be honest. Since their percentage is so low, basically the flat increase amounts to being more than like 30%. So that's good. Or like a 15%, excuse me, on some of the other units. Not more than like a 50%. I don't think he hits harder than like Kid Vegeta, for example, on that team. Super attack is farmed up, and SA 15, he gets 20% attack improvement, excuse me. So let's move on to the next batch. Intelligence units. Android 16, he's your main blocker if you're running stage 3 of LR Goku's event, because he takes 55% less damage. Yeah, it's funny, because I was thinking about like what units should you bother to even put orbs into if you wanted to do that. The only ones you should really bother with that is in this intelligence portion. You could put some orbs into this guy and literally take like no damage because you already take no damage. He gets a 20% improvement there. Key multiplier 130. Huge damage. No attack usefulness. So not one that you really need to bother with farming up. But he's definitely one that you do want to have. You don't need to farm him up, but he's one you definitely need to have. All right, next one is Chilled Summer. The best unit for Stage 3 because he is a hard-hitting unit. Attack plus 12% per key sphere obtained. It's unfortunate that it requires key orbs, but still, he's very good. And then to boot, he also lowers attacks. That's incredible. Brutal beatdown. If you're on Global, that link has not updated yet, but on JP, it is a lot more viable. I think there are some other units on that team that have it, like, I think King Cold has it, maybe. I'll have to look at it, but either way, even if he doesn't, still a good link package this guy has, especially when you're running Frieza and King Cold on the team as well, especially if you're not running like a mono team, because the traditional team is not a mono team for Stage 3, but you can run mono if you want to. So definitely, I said he's the best one. You want to do it. Key multiplier is one of the highest among these guys. Gets that 20% improvement. Just 7,000 attack is actually really impressive, to be honest. He's really good. So definitely want to go ahead and do it for Chilled. They gave him huge, but it's because he's a nuker. 12% is actually really good too, to be honest. For example, for context, Rage Trunks has 15% per orb. Of course, he can get... he can only get... Rage Trunks has this exact same passive, but only 3% more. He needs intelligence orbs. Gohan has 18%, but Gohan can get any orb he wants. So it's a little different for LR Gohan. Well, it's a lot different, actually. And then, of course, key multiplier and other links factor into that. Whoopsie. Don't want to do that. So then we have King Vegeta. So huge damage. Key plus 4 when HP is 80% or below. So that's almost always going to have key plus 4. And since that's the case, since he's so self-sufficient, he's worth it. 20% improvement there. That's great. He's definitely worth it because of the fact that he's almost always going to have key plus 4 when you take a hit. Let's jump over to the STR grouping. And for the STR group, we have Trunks to begin with. Another support unit. Actually, I didn't know he had that same passive as Piccolo, so that's cool. They came out about the same time, too. 140% key multiplier. So he actually, I think, has the highest one we've seen thus far. But instead of giving him the 20% up, he gets the early SA launch. Aw, man. Man, he would be so good if he got that 20% up because that key multiplier. Okay, so since he supers early and he's not a bad unit, otherwise has a solid link package as well, go ahead and farm him up. Trunks is pretty good, actually. And Master Grandpa Gohan, key plus 3 and attack and defense plus 2,000. I thought it was only attack. If it's attack and defense, that's pretty cool. I thought it was only attack, though. Either way, it doesn't matter. Extreme damage. So that's actually really good. An attack improvement, at least, that I'm positive of. I feel like they're right, but it's just me being pessimistic about it. Key plus 3, solid link package. I think he gets the 20% improvement. 120% key multiplier. Oh, they nuked him. They have to balance these units somehow. You still won't beg for mercy? Yeah, I won't beg. He's definitely worth it. Go ahead and farm him up. So last one, Cyborg Tao. Long story short, he could either be a pretty decent hitter or a really crappy hitter. Funny story about him. His original awakening, like his previous awakening form, I think just said cause damage, like no huge. There's also one for like low. Low damage is a thing. Those are like super uncommon though, like incredibly uncommon. High chance of 70%. So that's a 50% chance he's gonna get 70% more attack. This guy supers early, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 9 key bars. He's fringe because I feel like his only usefulness is to be a stunner. But if you wanted to, you can go ahead and farm him up just so he can have a little bit more versatility offensively. And now we're on to the final portion, Chubby Body Gotenks failure. So this guy, definitely go for it. He is just like Chilled, a nuking unit. He also recovers HP with candy. I mean, but that doesn't mean anything unless you're taking on that event with Kid Buu and stuff. This guy gets 20% improvement too. He's literally the same thing as Chilled. So definitely go for it. Definitely go for it. Nothing else really to say there. And King Cold, all enemies attack minus 25%. That's what makes him so good. That passive skill, he is one of the best debuffers, just innately like that in the game, period, to be honest. Huge damage and also lowers attack as well when he super attacks. I think he gets a 20% improvement, which does kind of suck. Yes, I wish he could have supered early. That would have been significantly better on him, but he's not there for damage, so you don't have to farm him up. He has a nice HP stat too, though. He had one of the higher HP stats for a long time, way back in the game. But yeah, no real reason to farm him up. Not necessary. Last but not least, we have Frieza, and the answer is yes. Frieza is exactly pretty much the same unit as that Vegeta we saw earlier. He gets an early super, though, which is really cool. He also lowers enemies' attack whenever he does super attack them. So Frieza is definitely worth it because you want that SA 15 9 key bar launch of the super. So that's why you want it. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, punch that like button. Leave a like down below. Excuse me. Subscribe if you're new. And thank you for the support. I'll catch you guys later on with the next content. Peace out, guys.